It was a rainy Friday night in Manchester. I was 20, and my younger sister, Alina, had just turned 18. We were alone at home. Mum had gone to attend a wedding in Liverpool, and our father, well, we hoped never to see him again. He had left us months ago after years of hurting us both, mentally, physically, emotionally. But that night, something felt wrong. Alina was sitting cross-legged on her bed in her room upstairs, scrolling through her phone. I was downstairs in the kitchen, heating some soup for both of us. The power kept flickering, and the wind howled through the old window panes of our worn-out cottage. At exactly 11:13 p.m., the landline rang. We never used it. No one did. And it had no caller ID. I picked it up hesitantly. Hello? There was silence. Then click. The line went dead. A chill crept down my spine. I walked back to the living room, trying to act normal. Alina, I called upstairs. Lock your door tonight, okay? She laughed nervously.
Why?
Is this another one of your horror stories? I forced a smile. Just do it. Midnight came. Then 1 a.m. The wind grew louder. The rain heavier. Suddenly, the back door creaked. We always kept it locked. I grabbed a kitchen knife and tiptoed toward the sound. The door was open.
Wide.
And muddy footprints led in barefoot, large, uneven. I froze. I ran upstairs, banged on Alina's door. Let me in.
Now.
She opened it with sleepy eyes, until she saw my face. There's someone in the house, I whispered, locking her door behind me. She gasped. We turned off the lights, sat quietly, breathing low, listening. Then thud. From my room. Then a deep, raspy whisper. Daddy's home. Alina clutched my hand so tightly, I felt her nails digging into my skin. It's him, she whispered. It's Dad.
We didn't know how he got in.
But we remembered his voice, his twisted sense of control, and how he'd disappear, only to return when we were weakest. We stayed silent for what felt like hours. The footsteps moved across the hallway, pacing, pacing. He banged on my bedroom door first, then Alina's, then nothing. We waited, and then he tried the handle. It was locked. Open the door, kids, he said, voice rough and broken. I've missed my girls. Alina whimpered. I stayed strong for her. I whispered, we'll survive this. Together. I called the police silently from my phone, holding my breath with each tap of my screen. 23 minutes later, flashing blue lights lit up our windows. The noise startled him. He banged the door hard once more, and then fled. The police broke in, and they found him trying to escape through the garage. He was arrested. We cried for hours. The nightmare was over. That night changed us. We weren't just victims. We were survivors. Me and my little sister, we stood together. And we never let fear win again. It had been 2 weeks since that terrifying night when our father was taken away, but peace still felt like a stranger in our home. My sister Alina hadn't slept properly since. She'd wake up in the middle of the night, trembling, thinking she heard his voice again. I tried to be strong for both of us, even though I too checked every lock twice before bed and jumped at every creak in the floorboards. One evening, as we sat quietly watching TV, the screen suddenly glitched, and then the power cut off. Our hearts stopped. A minute later, the doorbell rang. 3 slow, heavy chimes. We didn't move. We couldn't. Alina reached for my hand, whispering, please don't let it be him again. I crept to the peephole. There was no one there, just a small envelope on the ground. I picked it up with shaking hands. Inside was a note in that same familiar, menacing handwriting. You thought locks could keep me out? My breath caught. He had escaped, and he was near. I looked at Alina, her eyes wide with terror, and I knew we were being hunted again. The nightmare wasn't over. It had only just begun. That night, fear wrapped around our home like a cold fog. I didn't sleep. Neither did Alina. We sat in the corner of her room with a flashlight, a kitchen knife, and silent prayers. Every shadow felt alive. Every sound made us flinch. By morning, I made a decision. I wasn't going to run anymore. We went to the police station, showed them the note, and they confirmed the worst. Our father had escaped custody during a transfer and hadn't been found since. They assigned us emergency protection and moved us to a safe house outside the city. Days passed, then weeks. Slowly, we started to breathe again. Alina began smiling. I started dreaming again, not of fear, but of a life where we were free. One evening, as we sat by the window watching the sunset, my phone buzzed. A final message came in from an unknown number. It read, "I won't stop until I finish what I started." I didn't show it to Alina. I blocked the number, closed the curtain, and held her hand. We had learned to live in fear, but now we would fight with strength. No matter where he was, he no longer controlled us. Our story wasn't one of victims. It was of survival, of two sisters who stood together against darkness and chose to live in light. That was the true ending. Months passed in the safe house, tucked away in a quiet village far from Manchester. Alina and I tried to rebuild our lives. She enrolled in an art course, and I started therapy to process everything we had been through. But a shadow still followed us. One night, as I returned from the local store, I saw something that froze my blood. A man in a hood, standing across the street, staring directly at our window. He didn't move, didn't speak. I rushed inside, bolted every door, and called the police again. But by the time they arrived, he was gone. The officers took it seriously this time, installing cameras and placing undercover patrols nearby. Days later, they caught him, our father, lurking in the woods behind the house. This time, there was no escape. He was arrested and sentenced to 20 years in a high-security prison. The courtroom echoed with silence as the judge declared we were no longer prey. Finally, justice had spoken. For the first time in years, Alina and I felt the weight lift. We cried, not from fear, but relief. Today, we live in a different city, under new names, chasing dreams we once thought impossible. Our past still lingers, but it no longer defines us. We are survivors. And no matter how dark our beginning was, we wrote our own ending, with courage, with love, and with the unbreakable bond of two sisters who refuse to be broken.